No sooner have you rung the ornate bell than the face of a lizard woman surfaces from behind a rock up on the ledge before you. Her stare is as sharp as the bolt eyeing you from atop her crossbow.
Stand back and keep your hands off your weapons. Convince me you're no magister, or draw one last deep breath.
Her eyes go wide with delight upon your mentioning Han.
May the goddess keep you for saving that little Lionheart. Young Han told me the story of his rescue. Oh, you are most welcome indeed.
With one graceful motion, the lizard throws down a tangled mess of vines for you to climb.
Come, ascend to the sanctuary of Amadia. You'll find you're not the only guest here, but the Great Mother provides for all.
The Red Prince interrupts as you're about to speak.
This woman is a dreamer. I can see the answers spinning in her eyes. Do rest your legs for a bit while I question her. You're too kind.
Red Prince and the Dreamer exchange courteous pleasantries, as if they're finding themselves in a palace hall instead of a death-ridden swamp. She introduces herself as Bahara. To your surprise, they next lie down on the ground in a seemingly warm embrace and fall asleep. What follows, though, is far from peaceful. They claw and thrash as if struggling for dear life, caught in the hold of some hideous nightmare. Then they wake, haggard, exhausted. They speak of a vision, Brahmos, and another red lizard.
Praise the daylight, I am now. There was death in that dream, chasing me like 100 hungry lions. But at least I've new directions. When we escape and find ourselves on the mainland once more, I must search for Brahmos the Wanderer. Then I will finally know the truth, the very secret of my soul.
You are fortunate to have found this place. The hollow marshes swallow life and regurgitate only the dead. My name is Bahara. Like you, I am a sorcerer. But unlike you, I am also a faithful servant of Amadia. Praised be her name, and praised be her starlit eyes. Your chant has no meaning, for you know not of whom you speak. So let us sweep away such ill-starred ignorance, and allow me to enlighten you. Amadia is the Great Mother. She is the goddess in whose womb magic was conceived, from whose sacred body immortal wizards were born. Gratiana, her priestess in this sanctuary, is teaching me her ways. For several years now, I've been her disciple, but she has resided here for centuries, sustained by Amadia's love. I was like you once, a lost soul driven by instinct from the bowels of Fort Joy. There have been others. They tried to make it back to the mainland, but were never heard of again. I chose to stay. My home is here now. This is where I found solace, found sanctuary. I found the Great Mother and have been nurtured by her magic ever since. The guests, they call themselves Seekers. They're brave people and friends to sorcerers, but you'll find them a battered band here today, brought low by bloody battle. Magisters, of course. Who else? The Seekers came here to rescue a sorcerer from the fort. They failed. Many fell. They've heard the shriekers shriek. I thank the goddess I'm not haunted by their sound. To know one's fate is to be fearless. I reside in Amadia's palm. I am hers to shield or hers to crush, and in that knowledge I am content. They knew him to be God-woken. They sought to kindle the divinity slumbering deep within his soul. But Alexander bears no rivals. Only the son can follow the father, or so he is convinced. For him, divinity. For the others, the dungeons. It is truly harrowing to know this man seeks to be the Seven's chosen. Have you never heard of them? From the tales they tell of Brachus Rex. They were living weapons, made of flesh and reared in torture. The pain they endured was so terrible, their screams turned to solid lightning. Turns out the tales are true. The Magisters dug deep and returned these horrors to the surface. As you wish. It is the laboratory of a lunatic. A place removed from mercy and sanity where mad Brachus Rex would experiment to his dark heart's content. There are ruins in the marshes, stonework vultures that perch above the king's long-buried treasure. But his is not a treasure of gold, ruby, and sapphire. It is a treasure of death, weapons, and vile magic. The nights here are long and lonely, but I often listen to my mistress Gratiana speak of days long gone, the heydays of Brachus Rex. Perhaps she will tell you her tales as well. My knowledge is but a pond. Gratiana's is the sea. It is the sea you should speak to.
You're alive! Wasn't sure you would be. Samadel, this is the one I told you about.
The dishevelled lizard eyes you with hope, though her hope is tinged with mistrust.
Han tells me you helped him out of Fort Joy. For that, you have my thanks.
We helped each other. That's what sorcerers need to do nowadays.
Can I ask if... Did you happen to meet a man named Gareth on your way here?
He'll be back, Samadel. I know he will. He has to.
He has to, indeed. We need our leader. And if he doesn't return with help soon, we haven't a hope. You're kind to offer, but you'd best talk to Gareth's squire, Exeter. He'll know where your talents can be most used. Now, Han, let's take a look at your nasty leg injury.
Catch you later, Skipper. It's good you're here.
A grim-faced man sifts through a pile of badly damaged weapons, salvaging the repairable, ditching the broken. He picks up a rapier, the blade nicked and splintered, the hilt twisted. He holds the damaged blade up to the light.
This was Halorn's blade. It was his first, it was also his last. He didn't intend to die here, but die here he did. He was an ordinary soul with an extraordinary heart, Halorn, and he died for what he believed. What did Halorn believe in? He believed in truth. He believed in hope. He believed that Alexander is a killer of Godwoken. I believe that on one point at least, he was right.
The point breaks away, leaving a jagged edge. The sword is shorter now, but it'll do more damage.
Who are you?
He realizes, to his surprise, that he holds the weapon in his hand, ready for battle. He smiles to himself, tucks the weapon away, and gets back to work. Amidst the placid little pond, the face of a goddess lies half submerged in the water. Rivulets stream from her deep-set eyes like endless cascades of sunlit tears. You feel peaceful in her presence, soothed somehow by an intangible comfort. As you gaze upon her loving face, you find yourself drawn into a trance-like state. A voice seems to reach you from within your mind and from the furthest reaches of the stars. Its whispers caress you like a breeze. The voice grows stronger, like a breeze picking up. What were whispers become words.
My children, my children. Gone are my children. Dead are they in the cradle I have wrought.
A feeling of indescribable sadness assails you. It feels like your heart merges with the spirits, torn together by a coil of thorns.
My child, weep with me for the mother who has lost. Weep with me and bathe in the tears of Amadia.
Your tears mingle with those of the goddess down in the tranquil crystalline pond. As suddenly as it came, the voice is gone, and you wake from its presence as if from dream-filled slumber. The pond now shines with an inner light, and standing in its waters, you feel rejuvenated, pure, as if born anew.
By Armadia's grace, what did you do? This is incredible. In all my years, I've never seen the goddess bestow her blessing on someone. I am humbled to be in your presence. Perhaps once, when the 7 gods were still strong. But it has been many years since this was anything other than a pond for me to pray at. Armadia's strength waned when the divine Lucian accepted the power of the 7. This is most unusual. Truly we are blessed to know you. If Armadia favors you, that is all I need to know. Go in peace, brother. And what might that be, O blessed child? Gareth. He set off to find the soul-forged weapons of Brachus Rex. A brave mission, and a dangerous one. But I cannot stop you, if you wish to follow in his footsteps. North of here you'll find the ruins of Brachus's source armory. Nothing in this land can counter the Shrieker's power like those weapons. Without them, the Seekers are truly hopeless. Walk ever in Armadia's grace, child.
Hold up. I've got to take care of some business. Friend, how does life find you?
Well, I'll be. If it ain't the beasts of the sea. Stories of your beard alone fly across Riverland like flocks of crows. Fair bit more inland than you'd prefer, yeah?
Ain't I know it, ain't I know it.
Beast claps him on the back and chuckles heartily. If they hadn't met just a moment ago, you might think the dwarves lifelong friends.
I don't want to intrude, seeing as how you got your own trials and travails, but I don't suppose you've been to Reaper's Coast of late. Maybe heard of a fella named, what was it? Lohar?
Lohar? Yeah, I know of the guy. From back when I was looking for fishing work out in Driftwood. He's, how shall I say, an entrepreneur. Still out there a bit. Had his stubby fingers and a lot of pies, if you get my meaning.
Sounds like a man I'd buy 2 flagons of mead for. One for drinking and one for toasting. I, got something for him. I'll tell him you sent your regards, Mr.
It's Duggan it is. Oh, and this here's Leia. You gotta be sick of that collar. Leia, you can get it fixed up, yeah?
Sure thing.
Bet you're glad to be rid of it. Amazing to meet the beast in flesh. Let's see if we can get you back to sea. Fighting the good fight, yeah? Your lungs have got to be starved for the salt air.
Beast chortles and nods, then passes you a sly wink. Such a charm bucket. A young man in oversized armor paces around a table covered with a spread of maps, his face a tight scowl of frustration.
Every approach blocked. Oh, damn it. What good are battle tactics against those things anyway?
He glances up. In quick succession, he becomes aware of both your presence and the fact that you're not a familiar face.
Who the blazes are you? A sorcerer, indeed. I should have realized. A seeker can always recognize a sorcerer when they see one. You met Verdus. Then he's as good as dead. We're the seekers he spoke of. We were supposed to free him. Instead, we've failed him. You, a Godwoken? Surely not. Though if Verdus said so, you could be important. But there's no way to be certain until we've left this blasted island behind us.
The young man anxiously fidgets with his curved bow. You've found a matter close to his heart, evidently.
That's easier said than done, I'm afraid. Much easier said. The Magisters have us cornered. They have these weapons called Shriekers. If we try to go against them unprepared, we're dead. We've lost many already. There's weapons, ancient devices that can counter those things. Our leader, Sir Gareth, set out to find them so we could break the Magister blockade and escape this island. But he hasn't returned. If Sir Gareth doesn't come back with those weapons in tow, well, this island will be our grave. Sir Gareth? He's the finest seeker I know. I'm honored to serve as his squire. He wouldn't let us down. Not unless something's gone horribly wrong.
The young man throws a furtive glance towards the shrine looming out of the water nearby, then leans in to whisper.
The masked priestess, Gratiana. She gave us shelter here and told Sir Gareth how to stop the Shriekers. But she unnerves me. Speak to her if you wish. She may know more. You'll help us?
his shoulders visibly relax, the weighty armor upon them settling with a clink.
Thank you. Allies are in short supply in this place. If you help us, I promise, we'll get you as far away from this place as possible. Please, ask. Whatever helps. None. He set out to find those source weapons, and that's the last we saw of him. We came to free an elf called Verdus from Fort Joy. He was a godwoken. He could have been the next divine, but we failed him. The Magister flagship, the Lady Vengeance, she's anchored at the old harbour. Once the way is clear, we're to take her and get the hell out of here. Well, before there's a divine, there must be a godwoken. Only a special few among sorcerers have this potential. Without them, a true successor to Lucian will never rise. And on top of everything, someone seems to be killing what few godwoken there are. It must be Alexander. A failed godwoken like him wouldn't want to see any other become the next divine.
Before you stands a figure, her body wreathed in cloth. All you can see of her eyes are two dark holes in an ornate mask.
Welcome, Blessed One, to Armadia's sanctuary. Pray, who do I have the pleasure of speaking to? Bahara is an excellent student. She still has much to learn, but that is a truth for all creatures. Tell me, what do you wish to know about our goddess? Yes, she is our mother of magic, the font from which all such power flows. Legend says that she lay with a mortal man, and their issue became the wizards of this world. Some say this is merely a metaphor for the gift of magic that Armadia gave us. Others hold it as pure truth. It is not for me to judge. Perhaps it is the truth, or perhaps it is only true of the Godwoken. Whatever the fact may be, the story brings me some happiness. Like him in birth, perhaps, but not in spirit. The Godwoken are said to be descended from the first heroes, and may themselves become the divine, transcending even the gods themselves. But I am no expert in these matters. The Seekers know more. Gareth spoke of his mission to save the Godwoken Verdas. You would do better to speak to him, if ever he returns. The fool ran into the swamps. He pestered me for aid against the Shriekers, and when I finally told him of a cache of Brachus's soul-forged weapons, he rushed away to find it. A bold move, but ill-advised. Unless he returns with weapons enough, I fear none of these Seekers will leave this island with air in their lungs. He ruled this realm as a tyrant and beast. He stole its source and left only death. On this island he built and tested his weapons. These marshes were a playground for he and his necromancers. Many unfortunate souls were brought here. Blessed were those who died quickly, or died at all. Perhaps they were not so different. Both hunted source, although Brachus gathered it all unto himself. Both drained the life from this land. Indeed, the Magisters have even taken Brachus's worst tools. First, the purging ones, and now those Shriekers. If the Seeker Gareth survives, I pray he will return with the weapons he needs to destroy them. They are the weapons that brought the Seekers so low. I have read of similar devices in books detailing Brachus's crimes. I had hoped Rivellon would never see them again, but these are dark days. Perhaps in one of Brachus's vaults. They are scattered across this isle. One cannot know which have been ransacked and which left secure. He set off north, to the ruins of Brachus's source armory, but there is no way to know what he found there, even if he survived the swamps. Walk ever in Armadia's grace, child.
The lizard holds a crimson-soaked rag against his side. He looks up as you approach, his expression oddly serene.
Magisters, They found our camp near the old harbour and unleashed hell upon us. I'm lucky in a way. I was wounded by an arrow. It wasn't just sword and spear the Magisters used on us. No, they had these weapons. Living beings, depleted of source and crucified, pathetic to look at until... the power that they unleashed. There was nothing we could do. Only run. Shriekers they're called. I can still hear that sound they uttered. Makes my scales crawl.
Sir Gareth is looking for a way to defeat them now. Let us hope he finds it.
The young woman chews her lower lip as she observes the injured before her. She bends to grab a rag, wiping her blood-smeared hands. She looks up and sees you.
If you're looking for healing, sorcerer, well, there's not much I can do.
The woman wrings the blood-stained rag in her hands anxiously.
Magisters aren't known for their mercy. Many of us died. And the ones here will likely follow the same fate, by a slower road. I've done all I can. Their wounds are too great. All I can offer them now is prayer and a cup of water. If you know a way, I'd be beyond grateful. A few hours ago, that might have helped. Look at their pallor. Only magic can pull them back from the brink now. Magic? All I've got is my own 2 hands and...
She trails off and limply gestures to her paltry makeshift infirmary.
I'm not even a healer. Ours was killed in the attack. I'm just a cook. Do what you will. Just don't cause them any more suffering.
You healed me. How did you... Oh, never mind. I don't care how. I only care that today won't be my last.
I don't remember much. I barely had time to realize the Magisters were attacking before I was injured. The last thing I saw were these things, these shriekers. Those Magisters are gonna pay in blood for what they did to us.
If my mother were here, she'd box my ears for not being able to thank you properly. Though I reckon that walloping from the Reds was punishment enough. Take this, at least. It'll have to do. Thank you.
In an instant, my wounds have all but vanished. I didn't think. I was certain I wouldn't. Thank you. The Magister flagship. It has ballastay that tore our ship into kindling. A shard from our own mast pierced my side. I'm lucky the others managed to haul me all the way here. Especially after I saw what the Magisters did to those of us they captured.
He shudders at the memory.
They turned the living into shriekers. Crucified wretches that unleash pure destruction on anyone who tries to pass. Nobody survives those things. I wish I had a fitting way to thank the person who saved my life. As it is, all I can offer is, well, it's not much, but maybe you'll find some use for it. Thank you.
You've healed us. All of us. I owe you a debt. We all do. The Magisters attacked our camp back at the harbour. I caught one of their arrows right in my side. That would have been a slow death. I've seen it before.
He lands a comradely slap on your back. His strength has definitely returned.
Don't you doubt it. This old war serpent's still got some fight left in him, especially now that wound is healed.
Han stares fixedly at the dirt floor, twitching lips giving away the grimace he's trying to hide as Samadel applies stinking ointment to a deep gash on his leg.
Glad you made it here in one piece. Any idea what you're going to do next?
Sure, just don't get too cozy. If you're smart, you won't stay here too long.
Folks here just want to cry over spilt milk and wait for Gareth. Soon as I'm healed, I'll find him myself. Someone has to.
If you have one to spare, I sure would appreciate it.
He gulps down the potion and stretches his leg in front of him, grinning.
Almost good as new now. Thanks.
It was madness! Big fire boom, lightning crash!
One moment, sun. The next, I feel darkness inside me, then noise. So much noise. Clank, moan, clink, groan. I hid in a stump. I'm not a stupid squirrel. I have much stowed away for hard times. But I saw them. I saw the shinies. Shinies! Darkness left, then light again. Warm. Saw glints in sand and dirt. Can't go there now. Salamanders. They like the meat. I don't want to be meat. Yay! Okay. I hope you find shinies. They make happy.
The stone gargoyle trains glistening agate eyes upon you. Its jaws creak open, raining dust as it begins to speak.
You are not Brachus Rex. You may stay forever. Each lock opens only with a soul. And how many of those does one mortal have? Maybe you'll find some in the garden. Or maybe your soul will help the next adventurer through. Wise.
Put it out! Put it out! Put it out!
The pig is engulfed in flames, but her skin remains unsinged.
Does it matter? I beg you, help! You aren't sure? How do I know it won't worsen the torment? How do I know you know anything at all? Okay, but I don't think... Yes, I have endured this for long. I can't endure longer. But please, please ease this burden, I beg you. It is the doing of Brachus Rex. Kings will always come to see themselves as gods. I should never have spoken ill of him. Many ages ago, we dared warn of Brachus Rex's gluttonous cruelties. We paid the price with these poor kind bodies and the curse of eternal flames. Praise means nothing. I would reject it if it meant a chance to turn back the clock and worship Brachus Rex as he demanded. Bring it to an end. I will trust you in this. But please.
In the battle's aftermath, you suddenly realize the Voidwoken called out your name.
Calm yourself. Meditate. Don't acknowledge your own weakness.
How could such simple beasts know my name? Surely my fame has not spread that far.
Voices can't hurt us. Rally round. We've strength in numbers.
Next time we should ask how it knows us before stomping it to slime.
The Void plays tricks. I pay them no heed.
Your gaze wanders over the solemn stone face that overlooks the shore. For the briefest of moments, it seems as if its eyes come alive and lock with yours. The eyes, stone grey, turn pale green. They mesmerize, then enchain, then lure you in.
That shrine seems to have brought me here. What is this place?
Quackus, where are we? No leaves, no trees, no soil. This is horrific!
The helmeted figure before you slowly turns to face you. He raises his weapon, a great ethereal sword, and rushes forward, ready to strike you. The figure plants a foot before you, raises his sword, and commands,
"Fight!"
The figure charges you head on, ready to plunge the sword into your chest. As he charges, he suddenly evaporates into the ether, passing through your body. Deep, dark cold blooms in every particle of your body. The figure materializes behind you and grabs your head with one hand, pressing his sword to your throat with the other. If you so much as breathe too suddenly, it will slice your jugular with ease.
You are my champion? How I wasted my efforts saving you as the ship went down. Why should I do as you say? You were so easy to best.
He staggers back, holding his nose. The wound on your neck quickly knits together. He smiles.
You may do well after all. Recognize me. You are my champion, and I am your god.
He lifts his visor. Two deep green eyes fix you in their stare. In an instant, you know you are speaking to Ralik, god of all humans.
You have brought yourself. This gives me hope.
I see a spark in you. The beginnings of a fire that may blaze our path back to preeminence in Rivellon. This is why I've chosen you. To lead humankind back toward divinity.
This is why you are my selected. My Godwoken. Let me show you.
A great surge of power arrests your heart, your mind. When it passes, you feel ecstatic, replete.
You may have noticed I've tried to help you on your journey. I blessed the water beneath your feet so that it would aid you. Now you have the power for yourself. And this is only the beginning. More and greater powers await you, if only you will seek them. Only one like you can wield them. One marked for greatness. One who can either rise to this great task or let his people fall to ruin. Capability is learned, so too experience. What I need is not the wisdom of experience, but the fire of potential. This I see within you. Above all my many children, I hope I am not wrong. Your purpose will be great, but the first step is simple. Escape the grasp of those who would do you harm. You and you alone must safely leave this place. You and you alone must rise above the reach of minor people.
Ralik visibly bristles at the mention of your companions.
I am not the only of the seven seeking a champion, my child. Your friends may have been similarly summoned by powers that threaten the very existence of our race.
He casts his gaze over the war below, where God fights God in a relentless, bloodless battle.
Times have changed. The gods are at war. The victor will choose the terms of peace. If we fail, if you fail, our race may well be lost. A father knows when he may trust in his children, and when he must intervene. I know that you will succeed, if you choose it. Do not disappoint me.
Sibyl is pensively tracing a new name on her arm, gilded letters in an ancient alphabet.
Sure, it's nothing really. My own name. A little gift from Tyrsendilius. Leave it to a god to be overly dramatic. Must be a celestial party game. Or maybe he wanted to teach me a lesson. If the latter, he has much to learn.
Blessed branches, we've returned! Every second we spent in that hellish place was a second the great acorn drew closer. Interesting. You thought it was interesting, Quercus? Do you know what's interesting? Watching an entire world be strangled by the roots of doom, seeing the giant races fall like leaves in frost, hearing the screams of... I don't know what you're talking about. I am perfectly calm. Anyway, as interesting as that cold hellscape might have been, it does not solve our problem. We are here to stop the great acorn, not hide from it. It's already helping more than it knows, Quercus. The fate of the world depends on our ability to research a spell to protect Rivellon. We need to travel across the land, gathering clues, experimenting with different magics, and come up with a spell to shield Rivellon from its doom. Of course, for us to do that, we must avoid being eaten by the servants of the Great Acorn, and that is where our big, foolhardy shield comes in. Quercus! Quercus! It thinks it can use magic at our level. I don't know if that's adorable or just sad. No, I am not going to share our magic with it. I don't care how much you like it, Quercus. Very well, I cannot give it magic, but I can teach it how to forge one spell, if it will keep you happy. One.
The squirrel reaches out, touching your foot with a delicate paw, and you feel your mind open. You can see the forces of magic and see how to combine them in a new way.
There, maybe now your pet will have a fighting chance. Yes, you're welcome, but can we please get on and save the world now?
Out of the frying pan and into... You know what? You've heard that one before, so let's try a new one. Shite's all mucked up. Yeah, seems more to the point, doesn't it? Is that so? Look, I don't know where you've been and what you saw, but I believe you believe it. And I guess that's what matters, yeah? We find a ship, and we sail off into the great blue yonder.
I'd say we should stop to talk, but I'm swamped. Sure thing, Chief. What's up? One of the gods? Really? Well, look at you go. What did they say? Champion to the gods, eh? Colour me impressed. Better than one bugaboo, which is what I'm stuck with. Anywho, well done you. You'll make a great disciple, I'm sure. Oh, nothing worth mentioning. Sure thing, Chief. What's up? You know, wherever the next road leads, I guess. I never was one to sit in one place too long. How about you? You missing home by now? I hear you. I've always kind of felt like home isn't really a place or a time or anything like that. It's just a feeling you get. It's all in the mind. I think as long as I might lose myself at any moment, I'll feel like a bit of a stranger, no matter where I go. That does help. Thanks, Chief.
Quite right. Do seek my counsel. I highly recommend it.
The Red Prince takes on a reserved air, and you've the feeling he'd blush if such a thing could be noticed.
Secret of my soul, I said. What poppycock. Doesn't sound like me at all, not in the slightest. So drop it. Indeed. Rallick, if I'm not mistaken. Always was rather the slow sibling in the Pantheon, wasn't he? Quite so. I suppose you too met with somewhat of a disappointment. For we do have to wonder, can a god be called a god still, if they have to plead with another to assume the powers they seem to have lost? Of course I did. Only I'm not foolish enough to let it buy my loyalty. Nothing's changed but for our surroundings. We're still on an island, in dire need of making for the mainland. Perhaps we simply ought to hug the coast in search of a ship.
I must say, I was hoping to enjoy a smug advantage over everyone else. Lacking skin may make me a target for mortals, but I am mercifully immune to mosquitoes. However, they are infuriating when they get in one's skull. I can barely hear myself think. Indeed, so I gathered from your earlier prattling. I also met someone. Oh no, she was a god, by your standards. When I wore flesh, I knew her as the Lady Armadia. She was one of the 7 lords that served our king. Naturally, they acted as any lords would. They bowed to their king and sneered at their lessers. And there was an awful lot of sneering, even back then. One can only imagine how much there is now. Oh, what do you want from me? I'm not here to gossip and titter about my lords. If you wish to know what they were like, you need only to look at yourselves. Each of the races were crafted not just in the image of their gods, but in their temperament too. Vrogir was large and strong as his orcs. Zantezza quick and witty as an imp. And Rallick prone to bouts of fighting and boasting, much like every human I've ever encountered. You were crafted as an act of ego, but one can hardly hold that against the creatures. In truth,
The lords never troubled themselves with too much imagination. Yes, well, if you are quite finished wasting my time, I believe we have some business to get on with. What would I do? Oh, dear heart, it is not a question of would. It is a question of what will I do. It is only fitting, after all. You worshipped the Eternals as gods. Why not follow one as divine? The Lady Armadia has laid out the plight of the world and begged me to help fix it. It is a grave responsibility, but one that I gladly accept. Yes, and how is that working out, I wonder? Perhaps if your precious Lucian had been a little less mortal, you would still have a divine, and the Voidwoken would not be trying to chew on my bones. Honestly, you turn your back for just a few millennia, and the world goes to stink.
The air out here's a damn sight better than in Fort Joy, eh? Me too. A god I don't believe in told me things about myself I don't believe. Yeah.
Ifan chuckles and raps his knuckles against the side of your skull, hard enough to knock your head sideways.
Maybe so. Whatever we believe, we still need to live in the here and now. So, let's get back to work. Me too. Best damn friend a man could have.
He whistles, and the shaggy wolf appears by his side, panting in that way that makes wolves look like they're laughing. The wolf whines and claws at the ground.
Wouldn't try that if I were you. He don't take kindly to strangers. Afrit's been howling at my side a long time now. Good old boy appears any time I use Source. You should have seen him rampage on the day the Magisters collared me. If you'd seen that, you'd know to keep your fingers as far from his jaws as you could. Lonely? I wouldn't think so. I went from life in the regiment, to life in the pack, to life on the road with you. I haven't had time to be lonely.
He pauses, reddening slightly as he looks at you curiously.
Unless, wait. What did you mean exactly?
Ifan blushes fiercely and looks at the distant horizon, scuffing his boot awkwardly on the ground.
Let's talk about that another time. A time that's not, now. You know, later.
As he turns away in an uncharacteristically clumsy manner, you see that his eyes are bright, and the hint of a smile hides within his beard.